What is going on, Lego Maniacs? It's Ty the Lego guy here, and welcome to another Lego Star Wars comparison video. The two sets we're actually going to be taking a look at is the OG Ewok Attack from 2002. Now that set 7139 had 121 pieces, 4 minifigs, retailed for $13 US. Nowadays this set's going for 45 new or about 30 used. And then we'll be comparing it against the actually quite different Ewok Attack, that set 7956, but this one came from 2011. It had 166 pieces, and it retailed for $24.99 US. Now nowadays this set's going for 51 new or 26 used. As you guys can see, there's some big differences between these two models. They both went different routes. We're gonna get into it and see which one's better, but enough talk, let's get right into it. And to start, we'll actually take a look at the OG 2002 Ewok Attack. So actually, I had a lot of fun playing with this as a kid, and I actually bought two of them just to tell you guys how much I like this model. But the first small build that we'll take a look at is going to be the little Catapult. So this is obviously from Return of the Jedi. They're using this to hit AT-STs, and it works really well. As you guys saw, that thing shot that piece right off, no problem. So good job on Lego's part. It is a simple build. It's very blocky, which does make it look quite dated, let's be honest. It's probably the worst build out of the entire model, but it's still not terrible. It's just, it's not great, right? But then the other smaller build that I wanted to take a look at was the speeder bike. So I think this one has actually, I think they actually did a pretty good job on this model. Just give you guys a 360 view. It is identical to the one that was included in the AT-AT and the AT-TE back in 2003. Actually, both those models came from. Although the coloring scheme is a bit different. One was white, the other one was red. This one's brown, and I do think it looks good. I mean, it's not a perfect looking little speeder bike, but it definitely looks decent. I love the fact that it has a little blaster as well. You can put that up. And then a nice little area to put the backpack. But all in all, great looking little speeder bike. No complaints about it. I do think it's an improvement over the 1999 speeder bike that they had in that original Star Wars wave. And then the last little build that's included with this is probably the best. Check out this awesome looking little hang glider. That is fantastic looking. This is obviously a plastic piece, but it's like a flexible plastic piece. It's hard to explain. It's not quite cloth, but it's not your typical plastic either. If you guys have any of the old Ninja sets, you'll know what I'm talking about. But just awesome job on Lego's part. Very creative. I love these little hang gliders from the movie. You know, they drop stones on the stormtroopers. But yeah, just awesome looking. No complaints here as far as the hang glider goes. Again, I think it is by far the best build in the entire 2002 Ewok Attack. But yeah, that was the set itself. Let's now actually take a look at the 2011 model, and then we'll compare the minifigs more towards the end of the video. And here we have the 2011. So to start it off, what we're actually going to do is let's take a look at the speeder bike. So as you guys can see, it is an improvement over the older one, although I still like the older one quite a bit. The main improvement I'm seeing on this is obviously those handlebars. The older one just threw in, you know, one of those kind of like angled, they're basically like a steering piece, not quite, whereas this one is like, looks much more movie accurate. So very nice looking speeder bike. I think that Lego did a good job. Let's now actually just take a look at the two speeder bikes side by side. The other sets don't really compare to each other or other parts of the sets, but these two do. So let's actually just compare those two models. And here we have them side by side. So you guys can really see the differences in age. The one on the left obviously is much more accurate to the movie. I mean, just being perfectly honest, I still think the one on the right from 2002 is definitely decent. It's just, it's not perfect. Again, those handlebars are really what's kind of dating it. Although they work, I mean, they're just not quite as good as the 2011. Yeah, those are the speeder bikes. Yeah, they're very similar in size, which is interesting. So Lego got the size right off the bat, correct. This one again uses kind of like a bike piece to kind of make it, which is kind of cool, and it works. You think maybe it wouldn't, but it does. Anyways, those are the speeder bikes. Let's now take a look at the main build of the 2011 model. And here she is. So not a bad looking model. To begin, we'll give you guys a 360 view of this little tree. It really reminds me of the Ewok Village, like just a small, you know, a small version of that. Nice work on the trees. I really like, you know, how many they have coming up all over the place. On the top of the model though, you'll notice they're kind of trying to include the catapult feature, so you can shoot this off, which is kind of cool. It works basically like the other one, it's just a smaller version of it. And the other thing that's kind of funny about this model as well is, you know when they drop all those logs and those ATSTs to try and make them trip? Well, you can actually do that. So it's kind of anticlimactic, but not a bad job on Lego's part. I think that it, you know, it gets the job done. The other thing that's kind of funny about this is there's a lot of features. It has this, so you know when they're just, this is supposed to kind of represent, I believe, the ropes when they're trying to trip ATSTs or like, yeah, the ATSTs. So it does come out. It's probably the lamest feature in this set, but you know, if you're a kid and you want to kind of trip things, or say you have the speeder bike guy flying by and they throw out that log, bang, it's supposed to like knock them off. So cool looking play feature. It's just, it's not bad. The other thing too, it has an over glorified flick fire missile. And why I say that, this is probably the best feature, although I don't really like flick fire missiles. You open this up and there's an Ewok hiding. And what does he do? We all know how flick fire missiles work. They don't work that well. It's kind of hard to get your finger in there and flick it out, but it's supposed to theoretically flick out the flick fire missile right there. So, you know, you see where that technical is. So anyways, not a bad looking model all in all. A lot of little play features, surprising amount. I mean, let's just count it quick. Flick fire missile 1, the logs 2, this piece coming out 3, the little mini catapult 4. There's 4 features in this little model. So not bad. Now what we're gonna actually do is let's just compare. It's kind of a rough comparison because they're not very similar, but let's compare this against the catapult. And here we have the somewhat comparable Ewok Attacks, I guess. So if you really want to get like, oh, maybe this little catapult is supposed to be this. I mean, obviously it's way smaller. This doesn't make for the greatest comparison. The only reason I'm just showing you guys this is just because this is the Ewok Attack set, and these were the most comparable things besides the speeder bikes. And obviously I have to say with the bigger build, I have to go with the newer one. It's just way better, although it's not really a comparison just because they're so different, but it is just because they're both Ewok Attacks. And yeah, as far as the main builds go, which let's say roughly that this is the main build for the 2011 is far superior. So yeah, I like it a lot more. Anyways, those are the two very difficult to compare builds just because they're so different. Let's now take a look at the minifigs. And here we have 3 of the 7 minifigs. So the one on the far left is the Scout Trooper from the 2011 Ewok Attack, and then the other 2 minifigs, these ones are from the 2002. So I'll just begin by giving you guys a 360 view. Nice looking minifigs. As you can see, the Scout Trooper is basically identical. So I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They have updated it as of well, after 2011, but they're almost exactly the same. But the one key difference I wanted to mention is he has no face printing, which really kind of sucks. And then the older one, which you think maybe should be more outdated, he actually has a face. Now it is somewhat wonky. I mean, that windshield implanted into his face, but he does have his lips there. So I mean, it's something, right? I think it's better than nothing, personally. The other thing too is just to show off the Stormtrooper. He has that normal yellow head. But yeah, all in all, nice looking minifigs. The one funny thing though about these Scout Troopers is they don't have back torso printing, or obviously back face printing, right? The Stormtrooper doesn't even have face printing. But anyways, those are the first 3 minifigs. Let's take a look at the next 2. And here we have the next two minifigs. So surprisingly, this minifig's name is Logray, whereas the one on the right, his name is Paplu. And why I thought that was surprising is generally with the same set, they'll have different or the same Ewoks. This one, they just went out of their way and gave us completely different Ewoks. So I was kind of surprised about that. As you guys can see, Lego's changed a lot over the years. Look at all the printing on this custom mold, whereas this one's still a good custom mold, but there's absolutely no printing on him whatsoever. It's just, that's the way it was back in the early 2000s. But all in all, nice looking Ewoks. I have to give it to the newer ones. I do think they look a lot better, but the older ones definitely get that nostalgia factor. Anyways, let's now move on to the final two Ewoks. And here we have the final two. So following that same theme, this minifig's name is Tokat, whereas on the far right, the minifig here is Wicket. So I thought that was surprising. Same thing, not the same Ewoks, which is really weird, especially since it is supposed to be the same set 9 years later, somewhat the same set. What is interesting about this though is this mold is almost like identical to the older mold, so they kind of just kept with it. They just gave us a lot more detailed printing, you know, on the minifig on the left, which again is named Tokat. Hard to remember all these minifigs names. Wicket, I mean, we obviously know him, but he could use a lot more detailing. I mean, he's just completely in brown, which isn't bad, but I do think the one with beige and brown looked a little bit better than him. But anyways, all in all, nice looking minifigs. I have to, again, give it to the new one. I just think that he looks way better than the older style way they used to do Ewoks. But anyways, those are the minifigs. Let's now get into the end of the comparison and get my final thoughts. Well guys, that was my review. Do hope you enjoyed it. Honestly, I have to say with these two models, just to figure out which one's better, it's difficult. Like, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Like, this one only had 3 minifigs. Better build than the mini little siege weapon that the Ewoks have here. However, this one had one more minifig, and this, you know, the speeder bike's not bad, but it also had that awesome looking hang glider, which this one they completely got rid of. So it's really hard for me to say. I honestly want to say it's just a tie. Reason being, this one was so much cheaper, had 4 minifigs. This one had only 3. And, you know, the build's not bad. The speeder bikes are both good in my opinion. Basically what this set falls down to basically is if you're looking for a more modern looking model or if you're looking for a more nostalgic looking model, because this one has tons of nostalgia, great minifig selection. This one obviously has more detail, but not as many minifigs. Bigger main build, but it doesn't have as many smaller builds. Again, that little hang glider I absolutely love. Let me know what you guys think about this, what your opinion is on which one's better. Again, this siege weapon definitely is dated, but it's the hang glider and the amount of minifigs that are really making up for it to compare against this one. This one obviously has the better build, but less minifigs, but they're more detailed, but they don't have the nostalgia factor. Anyways, that's all I got for you today, but if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, definitely consider subscribing and click that bell so you're notified for any future sets that we do on this channel that are Star Wars related, comparisons, etc. We basically do a Star Wars related video every Tuesday. But anyways, that's all I got for you again, but thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.